Hey, it's Michael Soba. Everybody calls me Tiny, so you can too. And this video is the Trump extension plus updates and 8 new stocks to watch for this week and beyond. This is market analysis for the week of March 6th, 2017. So this past week, Congress was addressed by President Trump for the first time since taking over as president. What happened? Well, we had a couple of pause days heading into it. You can see Monday we pushed up a little bit, but then Tuesday we paused, and then Wednesday, boom. After the speech, boom, just big push up. Trump was talking about how he plans on spending on infrastructure and following through with the tax cuts he promised during the campaign, and the market just reacted with a nice sharp move high. And I'm using the SPY here for the S&P. Broke up above 240. Couldn't close there, but that's okay. Still a really nice session. Then Thursday gave back the live range of the day, but didn't fill the gap. And then Friday, a little push lower, but wound up closing above the open for a narrow range candle. So as I've been saying, I have been watching for a pullback, but I have also been saying I don't see a short signal yet. Again, I still believe a pullback is coming. I still believe the next pullback will be another buying opportunity. But I get questions, okay, and you can ask them too. Just send me an email to tiny@attackthemarkets.com. I get questions like, okay, well, you're looking for a sell signal. What is a sell signal? Well, there's a couple of things. It can be a one-candle pattern like a shooting star, inverted hammer, or a doji up at the highs, or a dark cloud cover, or a bearish engulfing pattern. It could be a which is actually, that's multi-candle, but it could be more than just a one or two candle pattern, such as a head and shoulders, or a coil that breaks to the downside, or a wedge that releases to the downside, okay, all that. But how highs are usually put in is through a testing process. So why I'm looking at the next pullback for a buying opportunity is V reversals, while rare overall, they're very rare on the upside. Usually the market doesn't just, hey, let's keep going higher. Oh, okay, that's it, we're done, and go down. And that's because fear correlates very well with the downside. Volatility, correlates with downside because of fear. So when there is fear in the market, when the market is going down, volatility tends to swell. When the market goes up, volatility tends to pull back, okay? If we look at the VIX, we can see, yeah, it's gotten a little bounce off of the 10 number that it tested intraday back in February. But again, it's headed right back down because fear tends to correlate with the downside, okay? So from here, we have another small pullback. Could that be all she wrote? Maybe. And if that is all she wrote, what I am watching for is a test of the high, where it came from. What do we do to that high? Do we test it? Do we exceed it? Do we fall short? And then I'm looking for some sort of a pattern like a double top or 2B top or an M top, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm looking for confirmation of that pattern. Okay, I'm not just going to start shorting it. And look, there are plenty of bears who have been carried out just over what has happened this year. Okay, they decide, oh, I'm going to short here. This is the high. Oh, no, we can't go higher. Oh, no, we can't go higher. Come on. Okay, the market is more likely to continue than reverse. That is one of the 4 principles of price action. Now, we are pretty extended here. That's why I'm calling it the Trump extension, because Trump helped extend us even further. Okay, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying that that's the excuse for the big gap up, at least on Wednesday. And we are having a pretty good year so far in the market. I just do not think it continues without at least a rest. I'm not calling for us to be red on the year or anything like that. From here, I'm not. Okay, we'll see what happens over the next few months. That may change my opinion. I'm still watching for pullbacks as buying opportunities, but just moves like this and getting parabolic and basically straight up like this, they don't last forever. So again, I do believe a pullback is coming. I do not believe that we have a short signal right here, and I do believe that the pullback that ensues will lead to another buying opportunity. I don't know if it's going to lead to an automatic, hey, we're down a couple of days, now we're going, or it's more complex than this. I'm sorry, it's more complex like this, all right, or even like we saw like this. Came in, of course, this was event-driven because we had the election coming up, or if it's just going to be a simple coil like this, or a little pause, or a little pause, or a little pause, or a little pause, all right? I think it's going to be complex. I think that the market is way ahead of itself. Confidence is way ahead of itself. People are just like, nah, just buy everything. Just buy everything. And like I said, while I do believe it will lead to another buying opportunity, I don't think it will be quick. I think it will be more of a complex pullback. Okay? All right. Let's go through the other indices. So here's the Dow hovering around 21,000. Wow. 20,000. Broke. Came back. Broke again. Huddled up, and then boom, exploded up to the upside. Are we going to 23,000 first before we see, before the move ends, as some people are calling it, or until we see a bigger pullback? We could. I don't think so. I think a pullback comes before that, but again, I don't have a short signal here. Okay, Russell is still lagging, but still doing okay. Hit another all-time high before it pulled back. Definitely lagging a bit, but nothing to be concerned about here. Not anything screaming, saying, oh, this is the reason. Come on. I mean, for those of you who are new to the video, I will tell you, I read a lot every week. I read a lot of people's opinions. And at first, it used to confuse the living crap out of me. But now what I do is I sort out the bullish and bearish arguments, and then I make my own decision, which is what you should be doing with any and all information that you receive. I used to be one of these self-righteous, the chart is everything, the chart is everything. I got off that over a decade ago. Yes, charts are a big part of my analysis, but I look at the entire picture. Okay, and charts are probably, they still hold the majority of my decision-making process, right? What's the chart saying? But I'm also looking at other things as well. All right, so there's the Qs, still looking okay as well. Let's look at some indices, semiconductors. Okay, we can look at some stocks. You got Clack acting well. You got Click. Okay, also acting well. How about Nvidia? One of the darlings. Yeah, I mean, after it tested this high. Now, this is the type of pattern that I would be watching for on something like the S&P or the indices overall, right? You get a nice big move, then it comes up and tests it and says, and then you're looking for a potential entry there. Now, Nvidia still, to me, doesn't look necessarily like it's going into a bear market, but as of right now, if this little pattern doesn't hold, I'd be watching for 95 to break to see how far down it's actually going to go. What about Intel, right, or like an AMD? So AMD had a nice pop up, and then it's pulled back pretty nicely percentage-wise. Here's a Micron, new highs, acting well. Banks, and I know I go through the same, and do something. I got an email, why don't you do different indices? Well, I mean, if you want to sign up for the premium newsletter, that's fine. But otherwise, these are the main indices that we should be watching anyway. Okay, so banks came just shy of 100. They still look okay. Here's Bank of America. Here's J.P. Morgan. Here's Citigroup. All looking okay. Here's Northern Trust, recovered from down here. Okay, here's Zion, which with the reversal candle pullback. See if it holds support in here. How about Bank of New York? Yeah, even that wasn't acting so nice. Now it's back up into this muck up here, this range up here. How about like a Goldman and a Morgan with the XBD also acting okay? How about, okay, let's look at, let's look at, I think I already did Citigroup. Okay, apologies. Hit the high and then came back. Why was I looking up CY? There it is, Cypress Semiconductor. Okay, so I know we already went through semiconductors, but I want to just go through this again and show you that you see how this broke the base, came back, retested, came back, retested, came up. Now it has some distribution candles up here. So what we want to watch for here is how deep of a pullback do we get. We had distribution here, nice little pullback, distribution here, nice little pullback. Same deal could be setting up here for Cypress. All right, I like to look at Caterpillar. which is messy up here, and John Deere. Like to look at the big internets. Here's Amazon in a nice coil here. Is that going to release to the upside? Can it get to 900? Looking nice. Here's Googleicious or Alphabet. If you want to go new school instead of old school, look at Apple. Just a complete, utter monster move here. You got Netflix. Watch the 50-day moving average. Okay, how about like an American Express? Yeah, I mean, these are just... How about like a Coca-Cola? Disney, full disclosure, my kids own Disney. Talked about this in the weekly email, which you could sign up for free. It's really supposed to be a daily email, but I don't send out a daily email. I'm looking to start that up, but I send out updates every couple of days at this point. But be aware it could be as frequently as every day. So here's Disney. See if it can break $1.12. Let's look at bonds. Now, last week I talked about the rotation, but I also said watch to see if it breaks. It never broke. Actually came back down to the lower end now, and you can keep adjusting this. But again, until we see bonds break out and get going, the support is great, but until it breaks and confirms, got to be careful here. If it breaks to the downside, you got support down here at 114s. Looks like 114.80 we could just use, which is a pretty nice move for bonds. How about gold? Gold hit into the 200-day moving average, GLD, and has rejected. I've been looking for a correction here for a little bit. This could be the start of it. Let's see what happens if it gets to the 50-day and if that holds. Here's USO. Oil is just sloppy here. There's nothing to say here. Just sloppy. If we get the, where are you? We get the trend lines going. We could start drawing a bigger picture consolidation here. See if it breaks. That's a horrible looking candle trend line, but there it is. There it is. I got to keep adjusting this. But anyway, we got to look to see if it can break out of this. Okay, one way or the other. And if it does break down and the 200-day gives way, yeah, that could lead to a pretty nice move to the downside here. It's been consolidating for, what is this, 9 months, whatever it is, maybe a little less, a little more, whatever it is. But this is a pretty long consolidation here. All right, so let's go through some updates, and then I want to go through the 8 stocks that I have in this week's video. Okay, so this is a list from back January 9th, looks like. All right, anyway, so UNH consolidated for a while, fake breakout here, pull back, and then this looks like it could be the real breakout. Watch to see the flag. PVTB is Private Bancorp. Nice push. We could consolidate it here, broke, consolidated, kept going. Not usually a big mover, but it's been worth a couple of points. Prudential, right, faked out, came back, never went below the pattern though, so it's okay. Then that broke as well. Okay, Lope, which is Grand Canyon Education, dripped out, came here. This is all sloppy. DeVry popped up, came back. Now it looks like it may want to break again. Core went the other way, then consolidated and broke down, held the 30 handle. And then Keko Environmental Corp also consolidated, broke, came back, kissed it goodbye. We talked about that. Then it came down and tested the 200-day moving average. That's not a bad one on the short side, although originally I was looking for a long side break. All right, so again, let me remind you, when you're watching coils, you have to wait for confirmation. And if you don't like going the other way, oh, I don't like shorting, okay, but that doesn't mean that just because the pattern is here, it has to go higher. If it starts going the other way and you don't like to short, stay away from it. Nothing wrong with being uncomfortable shorting. All right, let's look at the 8 stocks for this week. Let's start off with a short. I only have one, and that is Ralph Lauren. So this was a nice push down from almost 115 down to almost 75 in just a couple of months. It's a pretty sharp move. Now it's at a bear flag. If it resumes in the direction of the trend, watch for this to break 75. So Ralph Lauren. Now let's look at a couple of upside a couple of stocks with upside potential. The first one is A10 Networks. And if you look at this stock, look at what it did here. It hit the high back here in October, came down, got cracked here, and this is a big percentage move for one day, then came back, and notice how it never closed below the 200-day. And it surfed on the 200-day, it came back to it, broke it a little bit, but then came right back, and look at this sharp impulse. Now we have this flag pattern. If it breaks and continues, I'm looking for a retest of the highs. The good thing about this is, while it looks violent, and obviously it has some violence potential within it, it usually isn't a huge mover. So that means you could define your risk better when the volatility isn't so great. Now, this one is ATEN. Another one on the list is ANET. Wow. So what's that called when you take the letters and you rearrange them? All right. Anyway, this is Arista Networks. A nice impulse to the upside, consolidation. Wait for confirmation. This looks like it wants to test 125 at a minimum. Here is La Jolla Pharmaceuticals. This is a biotech company right here. Nice sharp impulse, consolidating. See if this continues. Of course, you always have to watch for news on these. Here is WageWorks. A nice consolidation. Let's see if this can go up and break 80 and continue. Here is Hasbro. Nice sharp impulse from 82 up to 94. Consolidating. May need another day or so, but this looks like it wants to head to 100. NSIT is Insight Enterprises. Sharp impulse, flag. See if this can get to 50, if it can break 46. And then finally, Caesarstone Limited. Now, Caesarstone Limited, this is not a flag, okay, even though it does have the lookings of one. But this is why I like this pattern, is it's sitting right at the 200-day moving average. And while it could sit there for a little bit, it's a key decision area, which means it's not going to stay there for too long. So wait for a move one way or the other from here. Okay, based on this little impulse, it looks like, oh, it's just going to keep going. But now that 200-day moving average could be strong resistance. Got to respect it until broken. Again, to recap, I think a pullback is coming sooner rather than later. However, I do not have a short signal. We have job numbers coming up this week. Maybe the market stays lifted until then. I believe that the next pullback, when it ends, will be another buying opportunity. However, I believe that the next real pullback will be complex in nature and therefore take a while to resolve until it goes back up. I am not looking to short until we get a pattern of some sort, whether it's a 1 or 2 candle candlestick pattern, or it's multiple candles in a head and shoulders or double top, or whatever it is. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for us to continue to move higher, but I'm also on the lookout for a pullback starting at any time. What does that mean? It means continue to trail stops, lock in as much as possible, and don't just stand there like a deer in the headlights or thinking, oh, we got to just keep going up. I think we're ahead of ourselves here. We're just barely over 2 months into the new year. We're up a pretty nice amount. I do not believe this pace can continue without a rest. I'm not saying we're going red on the year or anything like that. I don't have enough evidence to make that determination, but I can see, and I have studied the past, which is what technical analysis is all about, and I can identify that we're frothy here. We're out ahead of ourselves, so I would not be surprised if we get a rest or a pullback sooner rather than later. Any questions? Tiny@attackthemarkets.com. Don't forget to sign up for the almost daily email, we'll call it. Information will be at the end of this video. Have a great trading week. I will talk to you shortly.